So this is a conversation with the lovely first waiver gift to humanity, Jane, and myself. Hello, Jane. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm well. Lovely to be with you again, Joe. My lovely friend, who is also a gift to humanity, I might say.
Well, it feels like I've already talked to Courtney earlier, and I have also shared my sort of, I guess it's not a breakdown, it's like an emotional realization. Hello 3D, I'm here with you now. And so I just thought I wanted to share this with you and with everyone who's listening, whoever wants to. My day, which I know sounds really dead diary, boring, but I wanted to like unpack this with you, and then if we get stuck and can't process this, we can do some, I can do some channeling, and we can, you can support our questions that we may have regarding this. If we can't work it out ourselves, obviously it's nice to run to them all the time to get clarification, but let's see if we can apply, well, let's see if I can apply the messages and the information that they've given us, and see where we end up in the loving arms and loving ears of Jane. So I feel supported with this, and it's probably going to sound really pathetic to many people, and that is fine. I don't really care how people want to view my day, but for me it has been just very dense, and not for the reasons why many people are. So in New Zealand, we've just started having this mask mandate, and we had been in a lockdown, and I'd been ordering stuff online, which wasn't really a problem at all to have things delivered. But then today I had this conversation with this woman. So I was recommended to join this Facebook group, and part of the joining the Facebook group membership thing was promising you would never discuss religion, and otherwise you would be immediately removed from this group. And I thought that's fine. That's you know, every group's got its own little personality and rules that they want to sort of keep the flow of the conversation on topic. And so I was just looking through the pages and of this group, and realizing this is a really good, valid community group. And I wrote to one of the moderators who was posting quite a lot. And I was really curious because of some of the things she was sort of saying. You know, I asked her, I privately messaged her, I thanked her for the group, saying that I could see its great value for the community that it's within. And I asked her, does she know Dolores Cannon and Dolores Cannon's work? And her immediate reply was, she doesn't believe in past lifetimes. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's valid. You know, I can respect that you don't believe in past lifetimes. However, out of just, you know, interest for you potentially, that you're organizing this group. Dolores Cannon actually did a lot of work about future experiences too, especially with the new earth and the shifting of the new earth, and what it would look like and what events would be unfolding as we would get to that approach of the shift. Remembering it was a dimensional shift within and upon this planet. But I didn't tell this woman that in the chat. I just sort of said that, you know, oh, well, you might be interested to know that Dolores Cannon was discussing future events for this planet, which did include natural disasters, which are all unfolding, you know, out of curiosity. Who knew, apart from Dolores, that this is all unfolding as it is now. And I said, because I remembered the no religion. And I sort of said, I wouldn't classify myself as religious at all, but you know, just asking her if she knew about about Dolores Cannon's work and the information about the planet. And the woman just said, oh, that's interesting, but this planet's going to have, she was very confident in saying, I know what's happening to this planet, and it's really bad news, really, really bad news. And I replied back saying, oh, I guess that's, that's one perspective, but also knowing that, from my understanding, Gaia, well, this planet's going through, a cycle, and, she is, this life cycle is ending, and some are shifting with her. And oh my gosh, Jane, I have had experience because I got to hear from her about her belief systems, which was really extraordinarily fascinating, which was that there is two, I'll summarize this because otherwise it could be forever. Her statements are, there's two gods in this world, one that created this planet, which is God, and then one that rules this planet now, which is the devil. And I sort of said, oh, that sounds very religious in demonology. And she said she doesn't follow any religions at all, and that God is not religion. And then I asked her for her definition of what God was so I could understand it more. And then she was saying, well, there's no point having a conversation because you're obviously not following God if you don't know who God is. And I said, well, I think God is a collection of consciousnesses. And that did not go well. But we were trying to have a conversation because I generally was not trying to trigger her, I promise, because I find it really uncomfortable triggering people because I can feel their fear, I can feel their upset, I can feel their hurt, I can feel all their feelings. And so out of keeping my sanity, keeping my balance, keeping my inner peace, I do not enjoy triggering people because it instantly, some people may want to say it's my karma, biting me back, but it's not in terms of my agenda. Like I accept the roles that I must play, and I accept the messages that I must share and the position of what I have to be doing. Of course, I would prefer not to be doing any of this. Of course, I would prefer to have my old life back, actually.
Yes.
But without the Joe that was there in fear and worry and stupidly clueless.
Oh, I'm with you, honey.
But it gets good. Thank you, Jane. Thank you. I knew you would be supportive ears. And so then it gets better because what she was telling me was no one's so I sort of said, I from my opinion, Gaia, I don't say Gaia, I said Earth is ending its cycle, it's dying, and most people will be shifting with her. And that really upset her or triggered her because that is what is happening for those who follow the devil. And so she was saying to me that God's returning and that I better quickly get a good relationship with God. Otherwise, I would be exiting this planet along with the devil. And I just sort of said, well, feels like man created the label God, and man created the label of the devil, and these are associated with religions, so I'm trying to have a conversation with her, but it's Friday morning when I'm having this message with her. I'm trying to get the kids ready for preschool, and anyway, I just realized, this is really terrifying for her because she doesn't believe in reincarnation. So this is her only one lifetime she's having. She knows that God's coming back. And she said to me that her mission is to sow the seeds of God to people because, in her opinion, I'm going with the devil off this planet because I do not belong here, because I do not respect her God. And so I was trying to understand more about who God is, so maybe I could get in with him, you know, VIP. I was asking, is it a +1?
Good.
So she couldn't tell me who the God was, or anything, but I sort of said, well, interestingly enough, I have a Bachelor of Arts degree, and one of the majors is religion. And I was really interested in the Eastern religions. And so according to her, that's where my fault is, because I was taught all the false religions, and that I should be reading the Bible to be able to understand and learn of her God. And I said, but isn't the Bible attached to religion? And if not, or if so, which one Bible would you like me to read so I can understand your God? With much respect, I wasn't trying. I was really, maybe I should read. Maybe I should read. I know how I'm summarizing it sounds a bit sassy, but it wasn't me. I really was careful with my words as best as I could to have this conversation. I did not feel triggered at all. I was super, super curious, because I was like, gosh, damn. Like, if she would listen to one of our sessions, she would, oh my gosh. Well, I mean, she's currently now praying for me, and asking her God to open my heart to this information, because she is worried that you know, I'm going to be taken off this planet with the devil. Did not want to go into that conversation of, oh, do you mean Archangel Lucifer? Because we already know that, you know, he's actually an archangel that is got an important role to help humanity find the light, but did not want to go down there, Jane.
That very wise of you. I'm her narrowness in thinking reminds me so much of the thinking, the mindsets that I grew up in. So I'm actually, this all feels very familiar.
But it was strange, Jane, because how much, so anyway, I was asking her about certain things, and she wasn't able to help me, just guided me to read the Bible. And then when I asked her which one, she said, Jesus Christ Bible. I don't know if you've got a volume for that. I don't understand it.
Right.
And so then she, because I have a degree in religion, I've been taught and believe obviously all the wrong religions. And this is why she said this is why you're spiritual, because you've gone into the wrong direction. And so then, you know, I feel I thanked her many times when she said she was going to pray for me, because that is kind, you know, like she did make gigantic assumptions to my belief system. And I wish that she could have had more conversation with me, but she said there was no point having a conversation with me because I wasn't open to it. But I was confused. I sort of said, well, you know, the God and the devil labels that humans have put on them. And, you know, we love our labels. And then she said, it's not man that has labeled God and the devil. It was Adam. And I was like, oh, you mean Adam and Eve, Adam? Because I don't think he existed. I think that is, again, a religious myth. I don't know. I think I've asked about Adam and Eve in a session before, because remember I had that beautiful client who was very religious and still respected her religion, but was being prompted to have sessions with me, which was very challenging.
Yes. Well, I'm quite confused about this woman that you were chatting with this morning. It was the rule of you could talk about anything but religion.
Yeah.
The rule, because there is no other religion except her knowing of this one God, and that there is nothing else. And if you, I mean, obviously it seems like she has a religion.
I feel like your subconscious is coming in now and saying, this is how she's justifying and understanding the natural disasters. This is how she's understanding the virus and the political systems and all this upset and anger is because it's all being controlled by the devil.
Ah,
Well, that makes sense.
yeah. Yes. Yes. Everyone wants a fall guy.
But, but I mean, I guess that's going to, so well, this then is perfect now that I can see why the rest of my day went the way it did. So now I can really understand this connection and layers more. So she is seeing all of this world in its situation and can easily blame the devil for it because, that's the one big answer which, she can put all this energy into. And this is horrible. What we are seeing around the world in general is very horrible. And yes, if I wanted to label it easily, I could say, yeah, that's the devil's work, because it does look like Satan has come to town.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Even though that is man-made labels. So now just sitting and trying to find my neutral and peace, now I can understand where she's coming from. So anyway, she's got excitement in terms of, no, actually, before she gets into excitement, she knows she's going to have to sit and watch billions of people die because they have not seen that all of this is about the devil. And we all need to have faith in God, the God that she believes in.
Okay.
So then in that regards, we're going to be saved. And so we're just going to see billions of people die, and we will then be rewarded with, I guess, this planet, even though she knows about all of the earthquakes, even though she knows about all of the volcanoes. That is the devil's work to clear out his followers, his legion. I'm not too sure what it is.
Okay. Oh, this is really so amazing. The mindset here.
It's sad. So she feels like she needs to sow these seeds of God, so then people will start finding God. And I'm not too sure what we have to do to please her God or worship her God, whether it's just believing in him or I don't know. I mean, I want to be silly and say there's secret handshakes, but like that's being disrespectful, because I now can see clearly now that she's trying to wake up everyone to the fact that, wake up, look at all of this horrible things that are happening on this planet. This is devil's work. We must find God. You must find God within you. And she's praying for me to find God. And I thanked her for that. And then I just don't quite know how the little steps for her would be for her to then be able to, how she would imagine God's returning. And from our perspective, we can kind of marry it up with different labels, obviously. But she said that, in my lifetime, God's returning. I would love to have a conversation with her and support her hearing all of this out of curiosity and not sharing any of my thoughts and understanding from this work that we have done. But I kind of feel like we've just tapped into a little bit of it a little bit more. She couldn't quite explain it herself. I think she was so threatened and uncomfortable talking to someone who had spirituality in their lives.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking of all the people that go to church and believe in God, believe in Jesus Christ, and also believe in the devil. I know a lot of these people. Is she speaking of that God, or is this someone else?
I don't know. I'm supposed to
Yeah.
read one Bible that's going to give me all the answers. So God wrote the Bible, the one Bible she's got.
Yes. 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 I've been told that too. Yes.
And so anyway, she's not looking forward to this, all these disasters where all these people who are following the devil are going to be exited. Because she wants to save their souls, I'm assuming, because I guess when we shift, I'm assuming we're going to hell.
Gosh, I hope not.
So well, I've asked, is New Earth heaven? And they've said no, silly humans with your labels. And I have asked if there is a hell, and they have said, well, it's a mindset. And without being disrespectful to her, because I'm not, because I really generally know, this must be so scary for her. But then also, it's interesting, Jane, because after I had that conversation, but I'm not triggered by this. I thanked her many times, and I really appreciated her helping me understand her position in this. While I must look really reckless and scary. So I guess this is why it impacted me later. So I drop off the girls, and I decide to do something that is I have not done before. I wanted to go into a store and pick up a kilo of Tamarillos and some whipped cream, and I prepared to go in without a mask. In New Zealand, we have a mandate now, and in the mandate there is clause 17, subsection B, paraphrase G, which talks about conditions and exemptions of not wearing masks. So I am very comfortable with the mandate statements and the section of 17. And I was quite comfortable to talk to any staff members that had, a problem with this hussy coming in thinking she owned the joint, grabbing a few little Tamarillos and, whipping off on a Friday morning. And as I sat there in the car, watching all these people, because remember, I haven't actually gone to look at a store. My life is very small. I do this work, and we've been having all our stuff delivered, and I literally just run backwards and forwards dropping off the girls. And I just sat there, Jane, and the last time I sat there, it was no masks, and everyone was just smiling at each other, saying good morning. And today I saw not that. Today I saw people with masks and looking very, very dense. And they were scanning themselves in with their iPhones, and they were doing all the right things, observing distances from each other. And instead of, oh my gosh, it's spring, it's Friday morning, there is this excitement about summer just around the corner, these people, and I feel like I was there for a very long time, just seeing one person after another person. I could tap into their energy and can feel just this denseness I've never ever felt before with these people. And it just, my heart, and I just felt so sad. And while I wanted to go in and say my rights, be a shopper and a consumer and leave, I actually realized if I leave and do what I wanted to do, which was not have a mask on, I would make those very dense people even more, and I would make them feel even more scared, and they would be angry with me, and they would be triggered by me. And, I ultimately know that, triggering is we're triggered to learn from it and grow from it. But Jane, I didn't want to leave my car because I realized I was going to add more pressure and stress to their little lives and
Yeah.
not meaning it condescendingly, but their lives are already overwhelmed. I could feel it with every single person. They were at their brink point of feeling overwhelmed with how these restrictions are, and they are following and being obedient, but there was this just overwhelming sadness to them. And I did not want to be arrogant enough or, be a bulldozer to upset them. If it was just the staff, I wouldn't have cared, because it's like, well, take my money, goodbye. But because it was consumers, and I'm sure I would have triggered the hell out of the staff. So, maybe that's not the best logic. But Jane, I've never experienced it. I know that you've been dealing with masks for a year now. Is that right?
It's been over a year, although we have had reprieves. And it's evolved over time. But I so resonate with everything you've said, because I was there last, it was 2020, and it was in the spring. But it took me, it was that whole summer, it was in my face, and I had the same thoughts I had, although I originally I did wear the mask, and then I slowly stopped wearing it, and I realized no one was seeing me. And it was, I don't know, in a way it was like an experiment. And I did not see anyone get activated or triggered by me without my mask. Now, not to say that there wasn't someone, but it was such a weight that I carried last year, and I know I wasn't by myself. I think we all felt it. But I never embraced the mask. I just couldn't. And the worst is seeing it on children. And to this day, I'm seeing more and more children wearing it, and they have mandated the wearing of masks for children in school. And I'm seeing them get off the school bus, and they still have their mask on their faces, and they don't take it off, even though they're now, many, many feet beyond the school bus and walking by themselves. They keep the mask on. And, it's like it's become assimilated into their reality. And it just makes me berserk, as well as, really heartbroken. Knowing what masks do, they break one's will, and our so-called controllers, they know that. It's been used for centuries or maybe longer, in various cultures. And it's, I got no relief, you're listening to your sessions helped me a lot. But I still don't think I've resolved how I feel regarding masks and watching other people wear them.
Well, it's so layered in terms of isolation. You can't communicate with each other. It's a shutdown of individuality and expression. I feel sorry for those people who have got Botox that can't show that they're even smiling.
Gosh, what a waste of money. I know. God bless them.
You can only tell that I'm smiling because of the wrinkles on my face.
Right.
So they've asked, they sort of said in the preschool, it would be kind of parents to wear a mask in the pick up and drop off. And I did not identify that being part of a statement for me. It is kind for me to be able to talk to my children. I remember I've got 5-year-old twins, and
Right.
I need to be talking to them, and they need to be hearing me while I am giving them encouragement and support to be kind and sharing and listening. And it's 5 meters. I'm not going to put a mask on my face and block myself from seeing. I'm not. God, I'm not going to block myself smiling to my children, telling them that I love them, have a good day, and I miss them.
Oh,
I'll see them soon.
oh, that would terrify them. But, if it would me.
So it's not, and I've told the teacher very firmly, and I was also very concerned, would she be needing to wear a mask during the day? Because while I love her, she is incredible. She is such a special part of our family because of, her connection with my children during the day. I asked her in serious concern, do you have to wear a mask all day? Because for me, oxygen's important. And if she has to wear a mask all the time, is she going to be is she going to be functional to be critically able to think with all of these children that are, very busy, very active, and, she's got to be on her toes, and she is amazing at being on her toes all the time. But removing oxygen from her brain, I mean, can we test to see even if that's, advised?
Oh, really? I mean, does she wear a mask during?
No, she said she doesn't have to, which I was incredible. I could feel myself getting anxious about it when they started, I needed that confirmation, because I was like, I don't want her to put herself at risk, or how could she even be able to do her job to her high standards with that? So I was worried for her, and selfishly, I was worried about my children being supervised with someone that potentially is lacking oxygen to the brain.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, of course, I apply that same logic to what's happening to the children who are forced to wear masks to go to school.
So I have had some conversations with my mummy friends in the States who were dealing with the mandates for their region. And I've heard about, committee meetings with big council members, I think, who were going to decide whether their regions were going to have masks or not. And this also concerned me, because you guys, even though New Zealand isn't that backward, we are kind of on a slower time in terms of mandated for masks and things like that. Our Prime Minister has said previously that masks were not effective, and now she's gone back on her word, or that it's really uncomfortable, the proof of how this is all playing out, let's just say that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so my concern was, how is America going to respond to this, and thinking this could be us in the future if we get that far. And so, I got emotional when my friend was saying she was going to go to this meeting. I could put myself energetically in that room of these both sides for and against mandated masks for children in schools. So passionate, so driven, so focused, and so needing to feel safe and protected. And but for different for oppositions. And I put myself energetically in that room and just burst into tears. And I was like, holy crap, you're going to spend how many hours there? She said it was only going to be like a 2-hour thing, and I think it ended up being like 5 hours, or like some huge amount of thing. And it was decided that they would mandate the masks for the school children, which I could not believe. And I can see I would imagine a lot of teachers wanting to go into private facilities and parents paying for private tutoring, like a homeschooling effect, but with professional teachers, trained teachers who know what the heck they're doing. I think a lot of people have got pushed into homeschooling, which I think, I've dealt with some homeschooling situations when I was a commercial photographer, and I really appreciated the real interest of the students, really keen to learn and grow from it rather than being forced to learn things. So it was, homeschooling is a really amazing, valid option. If anyone's listening who is a homeschooler, I give you my deepest honor and gratitude for doing that service. It is really special. But so I can see this forcing the parents into a different option, which may not be what governments want, because they think they can control everything. So if there is an option of not having that, you're going to create a lot, which reminded me of that session I did back in February last year, which talked about resets of education. And I can understand that. And I'm wondering if that's part of the reset of the education, is parents refusing to be forced into certain things that they're not comfortable with.
Yeah, very well may. I mean, there's so much that needs to be reset in education. I mean, I had said for years and told my own daughter, that the structures need to fall, and be rebuilt, with some with some respect to life and
some common sense.
Yes. So anyway, there's well, as we know, I mean, it all needs to be wiped clean and made anew. And we're not going to have time to do that with the perspective that we hold. But
is the mask thing for those people who are uncomfortable with it and don't like to be controlled, is this their kind of awakening to start questioning things deeper, or are people just going along with the peer pressure and just complying to everything that they get given?
Well, I think we're seeing both. I mean, certainly it is been such a big trigger, and for myself, I know, and I've seen it elsewhere. I think a lot of people, though, have succumbed to the peer pressure, and the message here in my locale, and I believe it's way beyond just my locale, is that you're not a caring, compassionate person if you do not wear a mask. And and I respect your sitting in your car this morning, not wanting to add any more fear or worry to these people's lives. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. And then I look at myself, and it is a form of arrogance, and I'm not going to excuse myself from that. But I have sashayed in there without a mask,
Well, you've got the jazz feet and the jazz hands and your personality and your good looks. Everyone's just like, gosh, who is that woman?
Oh, yes. Actually, they don't even see me. I've always been rather invisible, which allows me to be that jazzy, because there really has been no consequences from it.
Well, the old Joe, I know this very firmly, the old Joe who hasn't grown from any of this work that we have explored, I would have been so potentially, well, I'm going to say fully aggressive. I would have been really feral, really aggressive to anyone trying to stop me in my tracks from doing what I wanted to do, because I don't do much of anything in terms of asserting myself in my past. I didn't really assert myself. I did follow, and that really, that really was never to my best interests. It never really helped me grow and flourish. In fact, it actually made me feel really disempowered. And so I would have got to that point where this would have been the last straw for me. I'm certainly not going to be I have an irrational phobia of needles. And so any conversation with that would have made my whole body go into a sweat. My hands would have gone clammy. And I would have started looking for exit points to leave the room, because I was it was very heightened, very, very, very heightened. And so, this current day situation would have, the old Joe would have been an absolute wreck. And so for the old Joe to be even I just think I would have gone in there and clearly and very firmly stated my rights and my legal position. And if they would have, threatened me with the police, I would have, been quite comfortable to have a conversation as well. But I would have been reactionary. So I would have been like an emotional bulldozer from hell,
Right.
Right. I firmly think that, so I'm grateful that she is no longer with us. She's probably left the earth with the devil. But it's maturity. But I am still not going to wear a mask. I still don't want to wear a mask. I'm still going to figure out ways to have my life without wearing the mask. I think we've talked to a few of our friends, our mutual friends, Jane, when I've heard them talking about wearing the masks, and they've sort of said it's just too much of a hassle not to wear a mask. And I've gone, yeah, I can actually see that it would be easier to wear a mask. And I'm kind of being a little bit of a, like, not having a temper tantrum, but kind of, there's all this mix of emotions that I'm still processing through. And I know that you've probably, Jane, everything that you've done, I want to 100% back you and support you and applaud you, because I know that you and everyone else has the responsibility of their bodies. And, if you're comfortable getting away with whatever you're doing, then let it be. You're not reckless. You are so compassionate and considerate of other people's lives that don't for a minute think that you have, maybe made someone feel, you probably haven't triggered anyone. You've probably just empowered the crap out of everyone. Look at that woman strut.
Well,
stuff.
Actually, you are so right, because it was those not wearing a mask that would empower me to take mine down and off, because it wasn't necessarily, I really wasn't that confident of sashaying in there with my jazzy feet. I am now, but in the beginning I wasn't. But I also hadn't educated myself, and done research into, what masks did, and just to any of the so-called science. God knows what there is, behind all this, but I know that masks don't work, period. Now, I think cut down on the common cold and maybe the flu. I don't know, but
I think there is more complications. There's more complications wearing the mask, I think, than the common cold or the flu.
Yeah.
And when I was doing my pottery, I was mixing my own glazes with lots of chemistry, and you had to wear a really big industrial mask I sometimes would wear it, sometimes I wouldn't, but I had it, and it was a big thing, and it was like a 3M thing. It had these filters on the side, and you had to change the filters often, and it was a bit of a hassle, but was good because all of the dust from all the chemistry and all the mediums that you're mixing were becoming airborne. And so I've got, I'm connected to quite a few glaze making Facebook pages, and, everyone in America was starting to wear masks, and in Canada. And I posted a post saying, we all know that even these industrial masks are pretty full on, still, don't remove every particle, and we know that this virus is much, 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 much smaller than the particles in, say, silica, for example, and yet you guys are all wearing these little paper things that are ill-fitted. And it was that common sense of, if we're supposed to wear something that's for safety, actually it being seriously functional, the functionality of its purpose should actually follow through, or no common sense is there.
There has been no common sense, and that, bingo, right there, you said it. There has been no application of common sense. In my very humble view, in my senior years, I've not seen it in years. Certainly not in government.
Jane, would it be accurate to say that common sense left this planet with the devil?
Maybe that's what happened to it.
It was a conscious mind shift, and it wasn't for good. No. Jane, I wanted to say a happy story at the end. So, I did cry for my friend and her 2 children, thinking that they would have to go to their schools with their masks on. Just, oh my gosh, it just, as a human being, I just feel like they're going to be so disconnected from each other, let alone lack of oxygen, let alone every other thing. And so I was so deeply concerned for them. It actually really affected me. And it's not even my kids, like, I love this family, like, it's like, I mean, like, I feel so connected to them without being like a stalker. But anyway, she let me know that the principal of her children's school has gone against the regional mandate.
Fantastic.
And said, I don't know the finer details, but it's not going to be mandatory for them to wear the masks, which has gone against, because they had heaps of parent meetings, and then they had this bigger regional meeting, and all the decisions came out, and then the principal said no mandates for masks for the students.
Oh, excellent.
But
we need more. We need so many more people like that principal.
But it affected me so much. I burst into tears. I can feel like I could cry right now because of the pride I have for a professional having common sense in this. Like, she could have other faults I'm not aware of, but it moved me so much. It gave me so much, like, joy that I actually asked for her email, because I actually wanted to say to her, I know that you've stood up against the majority, and you've used your common sense to actually think about the kids with oxygen and all of that stuff. And I wanted her to know that a mother in New Zealand wants to, really be grateful for her choices, because effectively, this could be an ongoing thing, and this could be affecting even my children in the future if this is how it all just keeps unraveling because of the will of the devil. But it was like, I really needed to celebrate her and support her, because everyone is happy when things go your way, and no one acknowledges it. but I can imagine that principal getting like just so much, reactions from her choices.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, oh, I no, I feel the same. I mean, if I weren't busy talking with you, if I was just listening or reading about this, I would be in tears. I mean, this is so important that people, uh, especially those in positions that can, um, um, enforce these mandates, that they take a stand. And God bless her. I mean, that's just so huge. It's so huge. And I too am so grateful.
I
Um,
as soon as I got her email and I started writing, I just cried and cried and cried. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Like I'm so emotional. And I keep thinking, it can't just be my love and attachment to this other family. And I didn't even know this principal to be like crying, but it was like, it deeply moved me to know how hard it is to stand up for
yeah.
and be accountable for being responsible for all these children. And
Oh,
I just wanted her to know that, her message has been heard around the world.
yes. Absolutely.
But Jane, her message back to me was, it's been really tough.
Oh,
Few years,
oh,
she said to me, few years. So I get a strong sense that those parents that are just outraged by her decision will pull their kids out, and they can go and find like-minded families to make them feel safe and give them hope. And I love that for them. But I would imagine, and I think this is what our mutual friend said in confirmation, the waiting list for that school has blown up.
oh, I bet. I bet. Um, yeah. I mean, people are not using their voices, and I'm the first one to know that, because I've not used my voice in my life until the last couple of weeks, in a very small way. But it's very, very concerning, and I'm very disappointed in what I'm seeing in my region. Um,
I think, Jane, masks were a big thing with Atlantis because they had
mm,
all of their viruses that had destroyed them for so long. And
right,
I just keep feeling like this is still to trigger people in their Atlantean lifetimes to actually stand up to the tyranny, because Atlantis was very hierarchy, and you would be killed for sort of speaking out or going against the inner group and the inner circle of elites. And
right,
I feel like everyone's having this opportunity now to do so. So the old Joe would have been the first to protest. I would have been the loudest. I would have been the angriest. I would have bawled my eyes out in rage, screaming at people to wake up to the corruption. Like, I can imagine I would have been pushed to that extreme. I see that there was many options for me. I could have been a raging alcoholic, or thank goodness I'm not doing sugar. Not doing sugar has been great. And you know
yeah,
what, Jane? Getting on the sugar rant again, we know how toxic that is.
yeah.
Why isn't our governments protecting us from the sugars in the world that are just doing so many bad things to
Oh,
our bodies? Well, we know the answer, but
well, we do know the answer, and again, it's all about money. Follow the money trail, and what I've seen is like, these masks. Now have a new product. We have pretty masks. We have masks for every occasion, and they take up space in stores now, and it's a new hot product, being sold.
a
And
new,
there's also
a new fashion accessory.
yes, exactly. I mean, you see, I mean, they're ridiculous. I mean, people walking around with sequin masks. Uh, I mean, they're just like really wearing nothing, but who cares? It's a mask, and that meets the mandate. But I mean, that's what I'm seeing. People are in tune to, oh, it's the latest thing to get and buy and wear.
Well, I remember watching a video about some doctors who work in surgery, and they were saying that the average mask you buy is not effective. They were saying that it's a really specific brand type, and that it needs to be changed very frequently. And and that was shared all around New Zealand at that time, when the governments were pondering whether the mandates for masks would happen. And that's when our Prime Minister said, oh, no mandate, masks don't work. And I feel like maybe the majority of New Zealanders have forgotten that statement from specialists talking about masks, who know what they're talking about, and they're not getting endorsed or paid by anyone to say this. So energetically, I feel like everyone's been pushed to deal with these emotions. I've been pushed around. And how do you deal with it? Do you get to that breaking point? And how do you empower yourself to be standing up to a system? You either just go with the flow and not care, and that's fine, because you're not caring about things actually is neutral. So there's kind of a luxury in kind of not being bothered with stuff. And if you can live your life through not being bothered, obviously your team is not making you trip up over yourself and having an accident or whatever. If your team are not getting your attention, then obviously you're doing a good job.
Right.
Keep up the good work. But it seems like many are being pushed into directions that they're not comfortable with. So I know lots of people are getting big upgrades with super sore throats, where they're being forced to look at their throats and be able to, it's like they're taking away your throat and the use of your voice to make you really want it more. And therefore, when you suddenly have your healed throat, you want to empower and embrace your new range of vocal skills. I think it's lots of people's throat chakras are opening up, or whatever you want to call that throat area.
Yeah. It's, we're having to navigate with new levels of communication where I live because of the mask wearing and not being able to understand what people are saying. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I hear your point,
the new ways of communicating. So first of all, we're having to get used to looking at each other differently, which, hello, what are we going to have to do on New Earth? We're going to have to start looking at each other differently. We're going to just have to rely on senses more than audio. We're going to have to communicate with each other more. Is this actually forcing us to be more telepathic, more communicative? I mean, let's think about it in a more metaphysical. Let's see if we can apply the information we've got, knowing the information we believe about the shift to the new Earth, getting used to seeing us differently, getting used to not breathing. It's a big one.
That is a big one. Yes, so maybe oxygen isn't that important. And not relying on words and hearing.
They're saying when you can't communicate with each other, you have to then start focusing and communicating to self.
Okay, well, that's a biggie.
It's a biggie, yeah. Okay. Yeah. What else can we understand about this? Well, we know that separating each other from ourselves, while it is socially distancing, it's isolating as well. But again, it's removing ourselves energetically from each other as we're upgrading, and we're kind of, with much love, when everyone's in fear and worry about certain things getting them, you don't really want that right on your lap. And so even though we can feel who was I talking to? I was talking to Camille after her earthquake, and we both cried together because I could feel her angst. We both know that there is going to be, there's going to be more activity. At the time of the shift, and so she's very comfortable and balanced, knowing what's happening. However, being home alone and feeling an earthquake really did rock her and shake her a bit, and she was really surprised that she did, because she's like, I thought I was so much more balanced than this. And then we had to remind each other, our bodies still have a mind of their own, shall we say. You know? So that was, we can't really, when our bodies go into shock because they don't want to be shook, when our bodies are having to experience things that we're not comfortable with, there's like a surge of adrenaline, or there is something that will heighten our emotions and trigger us potentially to then find our balance. Bless her.
Yes, bless her, bless all those there. It's humongous.
It reminds me of an email I got this morning from someone saying that the horses were not acting strangely prior, and they were really surprised. The owners were really surprised because the horses did not have any out of characteristics prior to the earthquake, which we all know animals sense these things way before us little sleeping humans. And so it made them realize that the information that we'd shared in sessions was, must be some validity to it, because the horses were not showing any senses of, because it's the smell of the gases on the earth that are released prior to the actual shifting of the earthquake that usually makes them, and energetically they just sort of have this intuition to it.
Right.
I'm grateful that the horses weren't upset with it. It was just a rumble for them. I'm sure they're very, very aware of what's going on. Their collective has always been supportive of all the horses, because the horses are here to help heal humanity and support us. So, they're obviously doing a great job, the best that they can, but knowing also how dense humanity can be. And it's such a strange observation to know we're trying to raise everyone's vibration. It's really important to raise everyone's vibrations, but then look at the state of how everyone's processing it. They're going with the flow of things more than empowering themselves, but then maybe going with the flow is empowering.
Well, we each have our own journey and life contract, and they don't all look the same, that's for sure. So we each do have to follow our own inner guidance, no matter what that looks like. And
I want to ask, I want to do a channeling, Jane, now. I want to ask them if me not going to the supermarket to not trigger people was what I was supposed to do. Because remember, they keep saying, trigger them, it's an opportunity for growth. Is this really what they're saying in that response, or is it something else?
Okay, I'm curious.
Okay. Yes, we were there with you, watching you as you were watching them, and the density of their feelings and emotions. Was their team letting you know the state of where they're at? They are feeling compliant. They're feeling like this is what is expected from them. If you had gone rocking up, and if they had seen you, it would have startled them, but also would have given them in the visuals that someone is going against the narrative that they are suspecting is against their own personal beliefs. They will have a mixed range of emotions. If they had seen you, you did what was comfortable for you, and maybe you would change a different perspective and have a different action if you find yourself in that predicament again. While you don't want to be forcing people to see that there is difference and there is options, there's also strength in seeing that people are not complying. Yes, you'll get the reactions of all emotions. And so part of your role and responsibility to stand up is to stand up to your beliefs and feelings, respecting all. Of course, if someone came to you irate saying, "Where is your mask? You're putting us all in danger," instead of reacting to that reaction with the same tone and the same energy, there is many other ways you could go about having that conversation. They may not like to hear your perspective, but if you lose your cool, if you use your temperament, if you lose your inner peace in having dialogue with these people who want to argue with you, who want to express their fear, their worries, their genuine concern, you can diffuse that in a conversation. They may be so outraged, they may replay this conversation in their head to dozens of their friends, to dozens of times to themselves, as they repeat the audacity of you not being afraid of something. So you are having an opportunity to talk to them and to discuss with them your feelings and thoughts. They may be too outraged to be able to hear you, but they will be able to feel your agenda. They will be able to feel your integrity and your inner peace. If you come across as arrogant and angry to them, against them, this is fuel. You're articulate. You can speak your mind without offending others. You can own your feelings. You can own your thoughts, and you can own your position in this. But it's how you react in these situations that can make you lose ground and credibility. This may take some practice for you to do. We say maybe you need to have it in a mirror. You may be needing, she doesn't like us telling her this, Jane. We're saying to her she may need to have some mock practices of conversations to be prepared, to get used to having to talk to someone about her position and what she feels. She is concerned about the mask. She is concerned about the lack of oxygen. She doesn't understand how it could be safe for people to drive in their cars with no oxygen and be responsible drivers. She feels scared driving past other drivers with masks on, given the small sizes of their roads. If she was in a smaller car, she would feel very uncomfortable because of an experience she has had with a car accident, and she is cautious of other drivers, knowing how easy cars and how easy accidents can occur. And so she is very mindful of others driving with masks on. There is so much that we can say to her, but we want her to know, when you speak your truth, when you have integrity of owning your truth and not having to assert yourself and dominate yourself to make others believe your truth or have the same opinion and truth as you, that is probably the best approach. That is the way that you have your inner peace and stay neutral, regardless of the reactions the other person will have, because they're trying to force things onto you. You can acknowledge and understand where they're coming from and respect where they're coming from, but it is not for you. And you can have empowerment and stand and say that, or not. We're not going to look down upon you with disdain if you wear a mask, but we know that's not what you want to do. And you've been wanting to figure out how you're going to navigate this. we say when you went to the second store, thinking that you could manage it better with a full store that was smaller, and you still didn't enter into that because you saw again more people being in there and shopping in there. We're saying next time, if someone says you have to wear a mask and they will not serve you, say thank you very much, goodbye. And that is it. You do not need to engage in conflict. That is fine. They have a choice. They have a choice to stand up to something that they don't really believe in, following the rules. We know how sometimes in history, following the rules has not been for the best purpose and interest for humanity. And we don't like to use the example of your Germany and the history that went on there. But it is very similar. And so sometimes when you're forcing people to have to stand up to their own systems, to comply, they're hoping that they don't have to stand up. They're hoping that people will just be obedient, remembering you're not in a time when people are carrying guns and will shoot you on the spot for disobedience. The most sharpest tools you have is your tongue. And you can use it as a weapon, or you can use it as a healing tool to be able to pronounce your expression of love and gratitude and appreciation and acknowledgement. This is what we want to leave with you today.
Thank you. I believe that answers our question, Jo.
Forgot about the second store.
So you didn't get home with your goodies, did you?
I did not. And the saddest thing, Jane, is we used to have a Tamarillo tree. And now we don't. But and the thing is, I forgot to order them in our shopping, and we got our shopping delivered this morning. And you know, we're going to order more food in a week, and I can you know, get my Tamarillo fix then. And you know, really, there's
I don't know what a Tamarillo is.
Oh my gosh, what is it with you Americans? No, it's a tree tomato. Do you know what a tree tomato is?
A tree tomato?
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of elongated, oval, and it's really super red. You cut into it. There's actually quite a few different types of colors. We had a golden Tamarillo, and they're so yummy. They're so yummy. I'll see some photos. I wonder if you'll recognize them.
So is it very different from a tomato?
Yes, it's like a lot thicker skin, and the pips are like black. And yeah, it's the really low in carbs. And I was, you know, one of the pages that I follow with keto was saying that I think 100 grams of it is only like 100 kilos is only 5 grams of carbs. And I'm kind of enjoying different flavors right now, and Tamarillos are in season, so you know, Jane, do you think that this conversation, you know, I'm sorry that I have only just realized the reality and the impact of masks. So I feel like I wasn't probably even able to comprehend what you were going through last year.
Well, no, you couldn't. If it wasn't, you know, in your environment, you're not going to relate to it. You know, it just, I mean, I love the fact that it's only now arrived in New Zealand, that you've been, you know,
protected.
Yeah, you have been protected. It's just been a horrible thing. But because of the length of time, you know, that I've been living with it, and you know, I guess I have processed it, and I did find my peace with how I wanted to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I still remember those early days. I bounced from, well, okay, I'll comply because I really don't know what's going on, to hell no, I'm not wearing a mask, and you know, just not. And so I bounced between the two, and then I bought masks that were too big so they wouldn't fit tightly around my face, and you know, and I wore that to be in compliance, but yet being, you know, I would be able to breathe. Uh, but, you know, all sorts of ridiculous things. But no, I really appreciate hearing the message from your guides today. You know, you have to speak your truth. And we know this, you know, but it is applying it sometimes gets tricky, because you do want to go into the grocery store and get, you know, your whatever it is you're wanting to eat, and to have to say, well, you know, my truth may be more important than my taste buds in this moment. And of course, it should always be that way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I'm sorry if people have been listening and thinking this is probably the most smallest scale problems. And it is not a problem as we have just talked about it and discussed it. I wanted to get the bigger perspective, insight into it, and to be able to apply their perspective. And I'm sorry for all those who have been struggling with this. I know that there are people that have to wear masks for their jobs, and you know, income and comfortability, knowing that you can feed your family is not a luxury that you can afford to risk with. You know, like I am so deeply compassionate, and then I have these real life moments of reality. And this is the thing that kind of like makes me laugh so much in a really silly way, Jane, is, you know, people who hear this information and say, oh, it's you know, so fear-based, it's so bullshit, it's so doomsday-y. And then I think, okay, so let's just throw away all the information that we've heard about the shift, and let's just focus on our future. What does that look like? Because if we are complying to all these variants, if we're complying to what is next? And I know many people are saying, of course, Joe, it is Agenda 21, it is Agenda 2030, it's depopulation, it's this, and this. Isn't that the most scarier option? Isn't that the most hysterically insane moving forward position that, you know? And so those people who don't know about this information but believe that there is those agendas, and I mean, just peeking outside, you can see it all unfolding as it looks very, very real. And I can understand why so many people are feeling so overwhelmed. Like, what? They've been told that there's going to be financial resets, they've been told all these resets are going to happen, and they were told this, you know, last year. How are they coping? Because right now I feel like they are just on the smallest rim of hope. You know, lots of people who believe that when Trump came in the second time, everything would be reset from there and that all their problems would be gone. I cannot see much of any other like group of people who have the affordability of inner peace. You know, even this woman this morning who is not looking forward to seeing the destruction of all these billions of people, but you know, that's their choices because they didn't invite God into their heart. I don't understand, is this a judgmental God? And since when has the devil been a God? Like,
right.
you know, like that whole thing was was very interesting. And I can imagine she is in this big world of fear because and heartbreak and every other like aspect of what people are believing and hearing about. I mean, first of all, I have to admit, I don't hear every single narrative of what's happening. I mean, today I heard something ridiculous about 3D printers printing our food when we reach the fifth dimension, or something like, there's so much nonsense out there, but whatever the nonsense, if it gives you profound peace and hope, rock it. I want everyone to find something that gives them that inner peace and that hope, because everyone deserves it. And from all of the sessions that I've done, and I've asked many times now, because a lot of my clients do say, this just sounds like it's just too good to be true. And we know that too good to be true is usually fucking bullshit. So tell us the truth. We're on to you. Yeah, we're on to you, you know.
Yeah.
And I've asked, is this just too good to be true? Are you just giving us false hope? And every single time they like say, well, you little kids, we understand, but this is a pretty elaborate bullshit game if all the details that we've given you, if it's just false hope, you know, like that's really, it's not what's going on here, but they can understand we are distrusting everything. And so when they say to us, trust everything's going to go to plan, trust everything's going to unfold as it needs to, don't worry about the smaller details, but if you do, we'll answer them for you. You know, right now they want us to find neutral. I think we're all experiencing different challenges to learn how to process it and release it. That must go to the collective. They must know how we have found our neutral. And that must be helping others.
Exactly.
Do you think, the other day I was thinking this, that when we all shift and we all our memories go back into the collectives, people can access our memories and experiences to see how we overcome and how we felt the density of certain things. So those people who are sleeping now, when they want to experience, when they reflect back going, gosh, people knew about the shift prior, that would have been terrifying. Do you think that they would have an opportunity to access that terrifying moment and have that experience that way?
That's interesting. I suppose. I mean, isn't that what, you know, the Akashic Records is for? Anyone can have whatever experience they want just by tapping in. I can't imagine why they would want to, but
well, just for the experience. Like, why would anyone?
Just for the thrill. Yeah. What was that like? I don't have to live it, but you know.
Okay, so then if that's the case, can everyone listening release their judgment of the times where they lost their fucking shit at certain things, knowing that that was just their service to humanity for those people who wanted to go back and experience losing their shit, and therefore, you know, that's that has got significance, importance, and value, and it's not an embarrassment that you need to feel bad about. You're doing a great service to humanity.
Oh, absolutely. It's very interesting concept for me to realize that everything I have done, thought, whatever in this life has been recorded. It's really kind of creepy on some level, but knowing that it has been recorded, you know.
But I mean, who has access to it? Do you think? Because I mean, the subconscious, your subconscious knows everything. And right. So would it just be your soul family? Would it just be your versions of higher self? Like, I mean, you know, it's not. I don't know if it's an invasion of privacy. when we've shifted out of the third dimension. I mean, I know I can tap into people's consciousnesses, and I can easily do that when people are meditating. That's how I have found Jesus and Buddha and, you know, lots of people that we've channeled, but they've given permission to have this connection. This is the reason why they wanted to channel. So this is the reason why they wanted to meditate, to connect in. And so I've been using it that way, knowing that if I wanted to go in and pickpocket their, you know, bank account or, you know, whatever, I mean, that would be misusing, and I don't think I would have access to that, nor would I want to do that. So I respect the access, and it's all really divinely protected and supported and agreed upon. So it's not a gimmick, and I don't think that many people. But then someone was saying the other day, do not, you know, if you go into meditation, you know, you're really opening yourself up to, you know, like really naughty entities. So you've got to be really careful. You've got to really protect yourself from it. And then I was thinking, I wonder if that's what people think I do.
Well, you know, I think the recording, of course, I think it's for God's source. You know, we have these experiences and we bring back, you know, the lessons and realizations and just the plain old experience to that larger collective. So I say it's available to all the various collectives that would desire it. I can't imagine anyone being interested.
Well, that's what they've said. That's what they've said. Someone wanted to know so she is a contactee, so she gets abducted quite often, and they download information from her, and she was like, what information is it? And they said, oh, it's all of your experiences, and you collect everyone's experiences. So energetically, when she like meets someone, you know, even potentially driving past in a car, I'm not too sure how far it goes, but she collects all the information. And then when they connect her, they download all her information, and then they use that data for their information to see how we're going. And they said it's so boring. It's like, you know, really, and they just gets connected up, and they sort of said it's like a big USB stick, if you will, and the whole of Earth's experiences we put onto this, and it's open for any collectives that want it, but they kind of made it sound like, but it's going to be so dull. And then it goes into their planet or their collectives, like library of all the other planets that have ever happened and their experiences, which is open source information. Jane, it's been happening. You've probably had all of your stuff already uploaded to their. That's how it's happened. How it's exchanged, the consciousness of it. So the whole.
We're all data collectors.
Yeah. That.
Do you think?
Well, potentially, who knows? And so this is why lots of people are, you know, like they are really confused about why people are, you know, contactees.
Hello.
Have you frozen? Hello. This is why, so people get nervous about being collected. Can you still hear me, Jane?
I hear you. I don't know if you hear me.
I do hear you.
Okay.
And so when people want to find out why they have been, you know, collected and what's the purpose of it, that's usually that's what they say, data. And I'm like, well, what is the data? And it's just it's interactions. It's how they're processing and responding to their environments of situations. If people, So thinking about that, and then thinking about like
I'm only really coming into awareness of all that. It's fascinating, and also
think we're having some technical difficulties on Zoom. I think Jane's frozen and now you're muted. See if I can unmute you from this end, Jane.
Okay, am I unmuted?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, the Zoom is doing strange things.
Maybe it's needing us to go. Okay, well, thank you for letting me just vent out this. I feel like I've got better clarification and understanding of how to have a bigger perspective and find my neutral again. Remembering, I just remembered about them constantly checking in with us, and everything that humanity has been squeezed into feeling right now is very purposeful. We're very protected. And that even though it looks like the devil's owning us and having his wicked way with us,
Yes.
Bless. You know, I can apply the information easily now that I've gotten out of the feeling of that density of all of their fears and worries.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. Well, it's been fruitful and I've enjoyed it.
Triggered tomato, like no, it's been fruitless day. That was my whole point, Jane. No. Okay, I love you. I'll send photos of the Tamarillo.
Oh, thank you. And I love you too.